This special YouTube class on Unacademy Unlock platform. Today, as part of our class, we will be looking at one of the important topics in our prelims examination, multilateral institutions. As all of you know, these multilateral institutions, good number of questions are asked from this topic in our prelims examination, right? So let us look at the topic, and then let us look at all the important multilateral institutions that are asked, that will be asked. Of course, it is also there in the main examination also. Before starting our discussions, let us look at the courses offered on Unacademy platform. Why we should choose Unacademy to play? Why should we choose Unacademy for our civil services preparation? First and foremost, as you can see it here, Unacademy is rated as number one by learners in terms of class educators. Next, it also is rated as best in class learners ratings, also 4.4 out of 5. It is also rated as the best in class test rating, 4.6 out of 5. With more than 50,000 plus learners have enrolled for the test series. You will get a printed comprehensive notes. You will also have interview guidance, daily answer writing practice, and one-on-one live mentorship. For all these details, you can call on the number that is given here, 858585 and 85 and 85. Unacademy has extended the combo extension week. You can get extended prelims and mains batches courses. This is only for GS, CTAS and optional. 12 months, if you are taking 12 months course, you'll get 3 months extension. And if you are taking 18 months, you'll get 3 months free again. If you are taking 24 months, that is 2 years, you'll get 6 months free extension. Similarly, 3 years also, you'll get 6 months free extension. You can use the code in our code PKS10 to get these offers. It is valid till 11th of May. This extension is applicable only on a plus subscription. Then a test series, Unacademy Lite, curated by the top educators of Unacademy, complete coverage of syllabus, in-depth performance analysis, 55,000 plus enrollments, 4.6 rating given by the top rankers. It helps you to identify your weak areas and also prepares you in right direction. As usual, you can get admission using our code PKS10. The batches are starting from today for both prelims and mains, bilingual batches for 2023 as well as 2024. Get started with the 0% EMI. You can get the loans with the 0% EMI, and you can also the loans are approved within what you call within right. Loans are approved within 2 hours, right? You have minimal paperwork and flexible tenures. Then you have Unacademy Ultra Combat, wherein you have this test conducted by Unacademy on 15th May at 11 AM. You can use our code PKS10 to get admission into this test. And Unacademy Lite is also there. It's a free and comprehensive interview guidance program. 170 plus top rankers have been selected through this program. Right? So these are all the courses that are offered on Unacademy platform. Let us look at the topic that we will be discussing today. Right? Let us look at the topic that we will be discussing today. Multilateral institutions. We will be looking at this topic, multilateral institutions. As I mentioned, this is very important from your examination point of view, because in both the prelims and mains, good number of questions are asked from this topic. Let us start with this one. The first one is a World Food Program. Why we are talking about this is because of the fact that India has provided free food to more than 80 crore people during the corona pandemic. That is the reason why we are talking about this program. This can be asked in our examination also. World Food Program, it is the leading humanitarian organization, saving lives and changing lives of people, delivering food assistance in emergencies, and working with communities to improve nutrition and build resilience. Right? It was founded in 1961 by Food and Agriculture Organization, this World Food Program. These are all the things which can be asked in your prelims. They will say that which among the following are true about World Food Program, right? Then they can give you these things, some 3-4 points there. That is the reason why it is better if you know all of them. It was founded in 1961 by FAO, Food and Agriculture Organization, with the United Nations General Assembly with its headquarters in Rome. And it is also a member of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. One of the important goals is food for all. And an international community, as part of World Food Program, has committed itself to end hunger and achieve food security and improve nutrition by 2030. That is the objective of this program, to end hunger and achieve food security by 2030. This World Food Program will be assisting around 88 countries and has assisted around 97 million people, which is the largest number since 2012. 97 billion people. It was also awarded Nobel Prize for Peace in 2020 to combat hunger and bettering the conditions in conflict-affected areas, preventing the use of hunger as a weapon of war and conflict. It was also given Nobel Peace Prize. Yes, good morning. What are the objectives of this World Food Program? What are the objectives of this World Food Program? As you say, you can hear, to end hunger, protecting access to food, improving nutrition and achieving food security, and supporting the SDG implementation, Sustainable Development Goals. It is guided by SDG set forth in 2030 agenda. Second goal of SDG is ending hunger. And 17th goal is also revitalizing global partnerships for implementation of certain development goals. What about the funding of this World Food Program? What about the funding? It has no independent source of funds, and it is funded by voluntary donations. Who are the ones who will be funding this program? The governments, mostly the governments, sovereign governments. It also receives donations from private sector and individuals. You can see in America, these top businessmen donate huge amount of money for these kind of causes, billions and billions of dollars. For example, Bill Gates Foundation also donates good amount of money. And but the most important source of funding is governments, right? Around 60 governments have significantly financed this World Food Program. And what about corporates? Corporates also make vital contributions to this World Food Program. They also make vital contributions to this vital World Food Program. And as part of this, Share the Mail is an initiative started by World Food Program. Share the Mail, wherein they seek donations from various sections of society and provide food to poor people who are hungry. And India, what about? India has been working with this World Food Program since 1963. India initially provided food distribution, then provided technical assistance also. how India is assisting. The World Food Program is assisting India in terms of distribution system. Our TPDS, Targeted Public Distribution System. And you provide through this TPDS wheat, rice, sugar, kerosene and oil. And this World Food Program also releases a very important annual report. What is this report that it releases? As you can see it on the screen, it releases a global report on food crisis. Global report on food crisis. It describes the scale of acute hunger in the world and analysis of the drivers that have contributed to food crisis across the globe. So this is what the report talks about. In fact, recently, it talks about increasing poverty and hunger in India. Of course, this report was rejected by the government of India, because government of India has said that during the corona crisis we have provided 80 crore people free food grains, whereas the report says that India's ranking has worsened in this during the corona period. So Indian government has rejected the report also. And this report is produced by the Global Network Against Food Crisis, an international alliance working to address the root causes of extreme hunger. So this is all about what we call World Food Program. It can be asked in our prelims examination. It can be asked in our prelims examination. Please remember, in our prelims examination, out of 100 questions, there are at least 6 or 7 questions from IR, international relations, multilateral institutions, these indices, global indices like Global Report on Food Crisis, and the bilateral treaties and multilateral treaties. So it is better if you prepare for all of them in a scientific manner, so that all those 6-7 questions, you are not getting them wrong. That is very, very important. Right? Then proceeding further, the next multilateral institution that we are talking about here is Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Shanghai Cooperation Organization, SCO. If I am not wrong, this was asked in the mains examination also this year. Right? So when we are doing these multilateral institutions, as I keep on saying all the time, what we must remember here is that when we are doing these multilateral institutions, what we must remember here is that we will be covering your main examination also, not only your prelims. That is what you have to remember. SCO is a permanent intergovernmental international organization. It is a permanent intergovernmental international organization. It's a Eurasian organization, Europe plus Asia. It is a political, economic and military organization. 3 things here. I think it was asked this year in your mains examination also. Right? Because our Prime Minister has addressed this organization just before your mains. What the government of India had asked the various central ministries that they must have PM speech tracker in their ministries. They must track all the speeches of our Prime Minister, find out the promises made by the Prime Minister in those speeches, and also make sure that they are fulfilling those promises in those speeches. That is what PM speech tracker, a dashboard that will be installed in all government ministries and departments. In the same manner, UPSC also has this PM speech tracker, and that is the reason why UPSC meticulously notes down all the speeches of the Prime Minister, and then UPSC will ask questions from those speeches. And that is the reason why I think last year, just before your main examination, our Prime Minister has addressed SCO. That is the reason why SCO was asked also in your mains as part of international relations. This is how you must be preparing for the examination. That is the difference between hard work and smart work. Hard work means reading everything that comes in your way. Smart work means knowing what to read and what not to read. Right? What to read? Only those things where Prime Minister has shown interest or Prime Minister has spoken about. Right? So proceeding further, this SEO Charter was signed in 2002, and yes, Indira, I'm serious, right? Take this year's prelims examination also, Indira. Most of the current events questions will be from the speeches of our Prime Minister. Most of the current events questions will be from the speeches of Prime Minister. For example, our Prime Minister recently, some time back, had inaugurated Ramanujacharya's statue in Hyderabad. So, as part of your culture in your general studies prelims, the question will be about the contribution of Ramanuja, his Visishta Advaita philosophy. Definitely, the question will be asked in your prelims. And that is what I say always preparation for UPSC examination. Just open your eyes to wherever Prime Minister is going. Don't leave him, even if when he is going to washroom also stand outside only, so that you will come to know all the questions that can be asked by UPSC. Right? That is what your preparation is all about. So let us come back and look at what we are discussing now. SEO Charter was signed in 2002 and it was entered into force in 2003. Right? It was entered into force in 2003. It is a statutory document. It outlines the organization's goals and principles as well as its structure and core activities. Right? Yes. Follow Prime Minister. There used to be an advertisement sometime back when Hutch was one of those service providers. Later it had become Vodafone Hutch. There was this cute pet dog following a person wherever he goes. Right? In the same manner, that is what you should be doing with our Prime Minister. Wherever he goes, you follow him. Wherever he addresses, you remember them. Right? That is what is UPSC preparation. Nothing else. These are all the smart tricks of trade which you have to develop. So proceeding further, official languages of SEO are Russian and Chinese. Right? This is where our Prime Minister can fight, because in SEO also he was speaking only in Shuddha Hindi. There must have been some Russian and Chinese translated there also. Otherwise they are looking at his face only most of the time. He was speaking in Shuddha Hindi. Now the government wants Hindi to be our national language, and if Prime Minister gets his way, Hindi would be international language, global language, meta language. It is the language of all the planets and Milky Way also. Right? If the Prime Minister gets his way. That is the reason why aliens, the last thing we heard is that aliens are also trying to learn Hindi language. When British Prime Minister had come to India, he was speaking in Hindi only, calling our Prime Minister Khas Dost. Right? Calling our Aam Aadmi Khas Dost. Right? So that is what it is. The official languages of SEO are Russia and Chinese. Prior to the creation of SEO in 2001, there were 5 members. It was known as Shanghai 5. Kazakhstan, China, then Kyrgyzstan, Russia and Tajikistan. They were members of this is Shanghai 5. Right? Later it was expanded. India and Pakistan had become members in 2017. India and Pakistan had members. They had become members in 2017. At present, who are the members of this SEO? Kazakhstan, China, Kyrgyzstan, Russia, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, India, or you can say Hindustan and Pakistan. There are so many stans, so why should we call it as India, Hindustan and Pakistan? and we can rename China and Russia also, Chinastan and Russiastan, right? So that all stans will be part of this in a SEO. Observer status is given to Afghanistan, Belarus, Iran and Mongolia. Dialogue partners are Azerbaijan, Armenia, Cambodia, Nepal, Turkey and Sri Lanka. As you can see here, the popularity of SEO is increasing. That is the reason why more countries want to become part of this SEO. Observer states are Afghanistan, Belarus, Iran and Mongolia. Dialogue partners are Azerbaijan, Armenia, Cambodia, Nepal, Turkey and Sri Lanka. So in your prelims examination, what UPSC can ask is that which among the following are true about this SEO. In terms of membership, they will include one of those states in observer or direct partners. That is where you have to remember all of them, right? So only those countries which have stan at the end of their name are part of this membership. Apart from Russia, China, India and Pakistan. Pakistan is also anyway there, right? Then what are the activities of SEO, Shanghai Cooperation Organization? It was focused on mutual intra-regional efforts to curb terrorism. As I said, it is a political, economic and security grouping. That is the reason why it is focused on intra-regional efforts to curb terrorism. What do we mean by dialogue members? They can participate in the dialogues. That is it. They can participate. Right? Beyond this, nothing else. They can participate. They can not take any decisions. Decisions will be taken by full-fledged members only. And they will be upgraded. They can become observer and then they can become full members also. It is like that. So the objective is to curb terrorism, separatism and extremism in Central Asia. And in 2006, the agenda was included to combat international drug trafficking because it has become a major source of terror financing all over the world. This drug money was used to finance terror all over the world. That is the reason why in 2008, 2006, they have included combating drug trafficking also. In 2008, SEO actively participated in bringing back stability in Afghanistan. In 2008, SEO participated in bringing back stability in Afghanistan. You should not laugh. Stability in Afghanistan, right? Stability and Afghanistan. You should not laugh, right? Yes, sir. On YouTube, there is at least a 1 minute delay. 1 minute delay, at least 1 minute delay. I can see that because what I am speaking and what I see it on my screen is completely different. So there is 1 minute delay, right? I said in 2008, SEO actively participated in bringing back stability in Afghanistan. It also took up various economic activities. In 2003, members have signed a 20-year program of multilateral trade and economic cooperation for the establishment of a free trade zone within the territory under SEO. What are the major challenges for SEO? The major challenges are the countries who are part of SEO have their own agendas. For example, SEO talks about fighting terrorism, but one of the countries which is sponsoring terrorism is Pakistan, and Pakistan gets active support from China. So it becomes difficult for India to defend its interests in SEO. That is the reason why last year, when our Prime Minister addressed SEO, he spoke about this terror sponsor countries and also those countries which are indirectly supporting those terror activities. He was referring to Pakistan and China also. That is what it says. The basic problems. One is in combating terrorism, extremism, and separatism, drugs and weapons trafficking, and illegal immigration. These are all the major issues. Despite being geographically close, the rich diversity in members' history, backgrounds, language, and national interests, and form of government, wealth, and culture makes SEO decision making challenging. As I said, look at Afghanistan. When America had decided to leave Afghanistan, immediately Pakistan had propped up this Taliban-supported Afghan government. India has to be on a tight rope walk because India cannot simply recognize the Taliban government there, but at the same time, India cannot also, sit silently because the situation is being completely exploited by Pakistan and China. And this is where running of SEO becomes a little bit more difficult because the countries in SEO have their own vested interests, and that is where decision making also can become a little bit more difficult. On top of it, what we are witnessing is that this axis between Russia, China, and Pakistan, RCP, to counter India, Japan, Australia, and America. Russia, China, Pakistan, and Iran coming together to counter the quadrilateral alliance that we have. And that is where India can become what we call a lone survivor in SEO. They have to really strongly defend their interests because all these countries are mostly coming together. And on top of it, again, right now, you can see that Russia's war with Ukraine making this organization much more difficult. So let us look at what could be the future of the organization in the immediate future. Right? This is what what are the specific challenges for India in SEO. For example, inclusion of Pakistan, as I have mentioned, has made the life of India more difficult. Why? Because the problem is that China and Russia are co-founders of SEO. India had become partner only in 2017. It had come into existence in 2003, long time back. And China is an open and direct supporter of Pakistan. So it becomes difficult. It becomes difficult for India. It becomes difficult for India to protect its interest from hegemony by China and Russia, which provide active support to Pakistan. India is not in a position to dilute its growing partnership with the West because, as I mentioned, this SEO traditionally adopted anti-Western stance. That is where it becomes difficult for India. India has to make that delicate balance because India is also part of a quadrilateral alliance, and at the same time, it is also part of SEO. So India has to ensure this balance between East and West. Right, that is where a major challenge for India. Right. Then from Shanghai Cooperation Organization to, let us move on to the next important multilateral organization, Opec. I remember this Opec was asked last year or before last year in your prelims also. Maybe before last year in your prelims. Right. So let us look at the next important multilateral institution, Opec. OPEC means Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries. Right? Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. If you happen to see today's newspaper, OPEC has agreed to increase its crude oil production in the month of June to overcome the present crisis because the entire world has imposed huge amount of restrictions on exports from Russia. So OPEC has agreed to increase the production to meet any shortfall created by restrictions on Russia. So this OPEC had come into existence in 1960, It had come into existence in 1960 September in the Baghdad Conference. Who were the founding members of OPEC? Iraq, Iran, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, and Venezuela. Venezuela, one of the largest oil producing nations in the world. Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, and Venezuela. Qatar left OPEC in 2019 after it joined our nation in 1961. And Qatar is focusing more on natural gas production. It is the largest exporter of the liquefied natural gas (LNG). Russia is not a member of OPEC, and that is the reason why now OPEC Plus we have. OPEC Plus includes Russia also. Russia mostly is an ally of the group, but some time back, as you know, there was a conflict between Russia and OPEC. And OPEC countries, in order to take revenge against Russia, have started producing more oil to bring down the crude prices. The crude prices went down also. They went down to as low as $29 also. Right? Right? How this invasion of Russia ended? How this invasion of Russia ends? What Indira you must remember is that Russia is a dictatorship led by a dictator called Putin. So Putin does not want any other outcome. He does not want any other outcome than what is called outright victory over Ukraine. Outright victory over Ukraine. He does not want any other outcome than outright victory over Ukraine. And Ukraine is giving very tough fight. Please remember, armies can fight, soldiers can fight other countries' soldiers. He cannot fight the people of other countries, and that is where Russia is finding it very difficult. If I am not wrong, if my guess is not wrong, Russia in the future might use limited nuclear option also, so that Ukraine will be on its knees. And if at all any dialogue is there, Russia wants. If at all any dialogue is there, Russia wants a credible exit from Ukraine according to its own terms. At this point of time, no country is taking any proactive measures to end this war. And these NATO countries are only supporting Ukraine indirectly, which is not at all sufficient. They are trying to put pressure on Russia through all kinds of restrictions. Recently, NATO has decided that they would completely stop all imports of Russian oil and natural gas. But again, European Union is strongly opposed to this. Some of the members of European Union. Why? Because they simply cannot survive without Russian oil and Russian gas. That is where it becomes. Right now the situation is highly uncertain, and we don't know when this war is going to end. The more number of days the war continues, the more uncertainty in the global markets, the more volatility in the crude prices, the more chances of inflation going out of control, and the more chances of the world entering into recession. That is what. In the worst case scenario, if we have to talk about, if you look at the worst case scenario, Russia might use limited nuclear option. They might go for limited nuclear strike against Ukraine. In the worst case scenario. And what is the best possible scenario? Russia and Ukraine coming together and finding out a peaceful solution. And the reality is somewhere in between. But what you must remember is that Russia is a dictator, and there is already a lot of what we call uneasiness in Russia, within the Russia, in among the Russian people only about this war. So Putin has to show to the people that he has achieved something through this war, and that something is about making Ukraine a satellite country of Russia. That is which is very very difficult also. And United Nations, as we know, is a absolutely useless organization. It does not have any real purpose. The United Nations is that kind of a dog which cannot either bark or bite. Right? It is that special breed of dog which can neither bark nor bite. Right? That is where it is right now, the situation. And we are waiting because what about India? Recently, our Prime Minister went to Scandinavian countries. These countries, think that India is a very superpower, influential superpower. So they have requested our Prime Minister to use his good offices to convince Russia. They don't know that we are still in a beggar stage only. So Russia does not listen to India. On the other hand, Russia wants India to, sympathize with its own problems. India is caught in a catch-22 situation here between the NATO countries and Russia. So that is what exactly the situation now. So that is what it is. Let us come back and look at the present topic that we are discussing. So OPEC, Russia is not a member. That is the reason why right now what we have is OPEC plus, including Russia. At present, OPEC has 14 members: Algeria, Angola, Congo, Ecuador, Equatorial Guinea, Gabon, Islamic Republic of Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Libya, Nigeria, Saudi Arabia, and United Arab Emirates and Venezuela. Correct? United Arab Emirates and Venezuela. Right? And what you must remember here is that world's biggest oil producers, they never belong to OPEC, including Canada, China, Mexico, Norway, Oman, Russia, and US. Right? This is what a very interesting thing about OPEC. We think that this OPEC is very powerful. It is still very powerful in deciding the global crude prices, but the top producers of oil in the world are not part of OPEC. That is what we have to remember. Canada, China, Mexico, Norway, Oman, Russia, and US. Right? Whenever OPEC tries to, monopolize and manipulate the prices, these countries increase their domestic production to regulate the monopoly of OPEC countries. Venezuela is the country with the highest world petroleum reserves, with 303.2 billion barrel dollars, which is equal to 17.9% of the world total. 17.9% of the total, that means 18% of total oil reserves in the world are in only one country, that is Venezuela. Saudi Arabia has $266.2 billion, which is almost equal to 16%. Canada has $168 billion barrels, sorry, not dollars. Since we are talking about money all the time, so the dollar is coming. But anyway, barrel is equal to dollar only. Barrel is much more than dollar. Canada has a 10% of oil this reserves, crude oil reserves. Canada, right? Then proceeding further, it is about OPEC. Next, let us move on. Let us move on to the next important multilateral institution. International Council on Monuments and Sites, ICOMOS. International Council on Monuments and Sites. It is a global monument conservation body, non-governmental organization. It is dedicated to promoting application of theory, methodology, and scientific techniques for conservation of architectural and archaeological heritage across the world. Why we are talking about it? Before last year, it has come into the news. It is also an advisory body to UNESCO for cultural heritage, especially implementation of World Heritage Convention. It was founded in 1965 in Warsaw, Poland, as part of this Venice Charter of 1964. Its headquarters are in Paris, France. Coming back here, why we are talking about it? Because if you look at it, India has 38 World Heritage Sites, 38 World Heritage Sites, which include 30 cultural properties, 7 natural properties and 1 mixed site. Please remember, World Heritage Site, people think that it is only cultural properties. It includes natural properties like natural parks and biosphere reserves also. One is a mixed one. Recently, that is before last year, 2 landmark decisions were taken during the 44th session of UNESCO that was held in China. One is they have included Ramappa Temple in Telangana as part of World Heritage Site. Questions will be asked in your claims as part of culture. This Ramappa Temple is dedicated to which among the following gods? They can ask questions. And on whose name this temple was built, Ramappa? Who is this Ramappa? That also will be asked. The question that also will be asked. Right? Then it has recognized this Ramappa Temple in Telangana and also Dholwaria, a Harappan city in Gujarat, as part of World Heritage List. Right? That is what it has done. At this point of time, India has 40 sites. Earlier we have spoken about 38. Now, including these 2, now we have 40 World Heritage Sites in India. 40 World Heritage Sites in India. As I said, all of them are potential questions in the prelims only. At the end of the day, we cannot leave anything for your prelims preparation. All these things are potential prelims questions only. Then next important multilateral institution that we are talking about here is United Nations Security Council, UNSC. This UNSC, they can ask the questions as usual, which among the following are true about UNSC? Which among the following are true about UNSC? It is one of the 6 principal organs of United Nations. It's a basic objective. Why the question can be asked about UNSC? Why? Because what is happening in Russia and Ukraine? UNSC again has proved to be totally incompetent, which clearly shows the need for reforms in United Nations in general and UNSC in particular also. Why? Because all these 5 permanent members of UNSC were, all these 5 permanent members of UNSC are enjoying what we call veto powers. Russia vetoes any other discussion related to Russia-Ukraine war. So that is where these institutions become mostly useless, right? So proceeding further, what this UNSC does, it recommends admission of new UN members to the General Assembly, and also it has the power to approve any changes to the UN Charter. It has 15 members, 5 permanent members, US, UK, Russia, France and China, and 10 members. Yes, I will share this document in our Telegram group. I will share this document in our Telegram group because I have collected all this information. I will definitely share the document in our Telegram group. Right? Definitely, because I don't think that I would be able to complete all of them, because if you remember, we were doing these developmental and welfare schemes also. Most of them are still left. We could not do it. We could not complete them. And we have only one more class tomorrow for this YouTube class. And for this month, our special classes also are over. When we take one more class, at 10:30 or 11:30. So what I will do is that I will share all those documents of developmental welfare schemes as well as these multilateral institutions in our Telegram group so that you can read them. Right? This Security Council has 5 permanent members: US, UK, Russia, France, and China, and 10 elected members of General Assembly for 2 years' time. India right now is part of this non permanent members of the Security Council of this UN Security Council. And we are elected for a period of 2 years' time. Recently, when the session of UN Security Council was held, India had become the president of UN Security Council, and it was our Prime Minister who addressed the Council on behalf of India's ambassador, who was posted there. You must be knowing all these things, right? That is what it is. This non-permanent members, 10 members are there, who are elected from General Assembly for a period of 2 years. They are equally distributed. The entire world is covered here. For example, African group can elect 3 members, Asia Pacific 2 members, Latin America and Caribbean countries 2 members, Western Europe and other groups 2 members, Eastern Europe has 1 member. Arab states are given 1 seat, alternately drawn from either Africa's quota or Asia's quota by informal agreement. Right? Turkey and Israel, they have never served in the Security Council. Turkey and Israel, they have never served in the Security Council, but they are represented in Western European and other groups, Turkey and Israel. Proceeding further, while other organs of the United Nations can only make recommendations to member states, Security Council has the power to make binding decisions on member states. That is the difference here. The basic difference here is that Security Council has the power to impose its decisions on member countries. And all members of Security Council have 1 vote, 15, all of them have 1 vote, but permanent members have veto powers. As I said, during the recent Russian-Ukraine crisis, Russia has used these veto powers. Almost all its 5 permanent members misuse and abuse those veto powers. They can veto any substantive resolution of United Nations. Substantive resolution, but not to procedural votes. As I said, it is controversial, right? But it is the most undemocratic element of UN. And it is also the main cause of inaction on war crimes and crimes against humanity. As countries like China, Russia and Israel and United States, which are routinely involved in abuse of human rights, got away with the abuse of human rights because of their veto powers. Got away. They would not allow any substantive discussions in the United Nations General Assembly or in the Security Council about the abuse of powers by these countries. That is the reason why at the end of the day, this United Nations Security Council had become a redundant organization. Now proceeding further, what are the reforms in United Nations Security Council? What are the basic reforms that we have to implement in the United Nations Security Council? First one is categories of membership, permanent and non-permanent. Why do you want to discriminate between permanent and non-permanent members? The first one is categories of members. Second is the question of the veto. This veto powers makes this United Nations Security Council completely a lopsided organization, wherein all the P5 members have abused regularly their veto powers. Third one is regional representation. Asia, which has maximum amount of population, has only 2 seats in this United Nations Security Council, right? And one seat informally it has to give to either Turkey or Israel also. That is the reason why regional representation is also very problematic. And then next important reform is what should be the size of the enlarged council. India is one of those countries which is strongly demanding reforms in the United Nations Security Council, right? And what about the relationship between the Council and the General Assembly? What is the relationship between the Council and General Assembly? Now, what about India's position? India says that either scrap this P5. There should not be the P5 because this P5 had become outdated. This P5 had come into existence according to the global realities after the Second World War, according to the global geopolitics after Second World War. Now it had become irrelevant because countries like Germany, Japan, India, Brazil had come up. They are the new superpowers, so they should be represented in the Security Council. So expand the size of Security Council from P5 to P10. Expand the size of or remove this Security Council permanent members, veto powers. That is what India is demanding. That is the reason why whenever any foreign dignitary comes to India, the first thing we would beg with that dignitary is that he should tell in front of television cameras that India is eligible for Security Council membership permanent. If the President and Prime Ministers come from Somalia, Sudan, Rwanda, Ethiopia, the first thing they have to say is that they are given visa only when they say that India is eligible for P5 membership. That is what. So, and this reform require at least 2/3 of UN member states. And most importantly, all these reforms require consent and approval by P5 members. They must agree. And what is the present status here about these P5 members? What are they saying? What these P5 members are saying right now? Right? What are they saying? What they are saying is that countries like USA are accepting the demands of India that India should become part of the expanded Security Council membership in public, but in private they prefer only status quo. China is strongly opposed to India's membership of United Nations Security Council. Russia is supportive, but it is not proactive. And then England, UK is supportive, but again only on paper. Same is the case with France. And these P5 countries want only status quo at this point of time. They do not want the Security Council to be expanded to other countries. Otherwise, Germany, Japan, India, and Brazil are the countries which are fighting to be part of this expanded Security Council membership. They are fighting to be part of this expanded Security Council membership, right? And India at this point of time is looking at becoming the member of this Security Council as early as possible. That is what the present situation is, right? And what are the issues with these reforms? As you can see it on the screen, what are the major issues with reforms in United Nations? An informal coffee club. Coffee club is different from coffee with current club. Coffee with current club is different from coffee club, right? Exactly, Indira. You are pragmatic. India will never become part of the Security Council permanent membership. So that is it. But we still believe in trying. we still believe in trying. We are trying all the time. So what are the major issues with the reforms here? We have this coffee club comprising 40 odd member states, mostly middle-sized states like Italy, Spain, Canada, South Korea, Argentina and Pakistan. These 40 countries are opposing any reforms without a broad consensus. They prefer status quo. They don't want any reforms without any broad consensus. For example, when India says that it should be made member of this Security Council P5, expanded member, China says that Pakistan is also equally. China says that Akash, the problem is that this class is only in English, right? The medium is only English. That is the problem, right? It is not even English also. So in Hindi, I think Unacademy has a very good popular teachers for Hindi, Akash, in Hindi. So I don't think for you, finding good content on Unacademy platform should not be difficult at all. It should not be difficult at all in Hindi, right? But this class is only in English, Akash, right? So there are 40 countries, right? Akash, I will not be teaching in Hindi. I will not be teaching in Hindi. I can speak in Hindi, Akash, but I cannot teach in Hindi. Hindi is not my mother tongue, so I cannot teach in Hindi, right? So coming back here, there is this coffee club consisting of 40 countries: Italy, Spain, Canada, South Korea, Argentina and Pakistan. They are consistently opposing any kind of reforms without a broad consensus. So if Security Council has to be expanded, Pakistan says that they are more suited to be a permanent member of the Security Council than India. So if India is to be included, Pakistan says that they should also be part of this P5. And China strongly believes that Pakistan should also be given membership of Security Council if India is to be given membership. And these permanent members, as I have mentioned repeatedly, are strongly opposed to any kind of expansion of the Security Council. P3 and P2. Right? In P3 and P2, USA, UK, France, and P2, Russia and China, they are also opposing the reforms, any kind of meaningful reforms. Russia and China themselves are opposing any kind of meaningful reforms because we have different blocks in the Security Council also. Different blocks in Security Council. P3, USA, UK and France, the Western bloc. P2, Russia and China, Eastern bloc, they are opposing. And then this status quoist nature of the Security Council members and obstructions created by the coffee club are coming in the way of expanding the Security Council. When will Security Council be expanded? It will never be expanded. It will never be expanded. And what happened? India last year had become part of this remaining 10 members elected group from Asia Pacific. It had become part of non-permanent Security Council member for a period of 2 years, 2021 and 2022. India is the non-permanent member of Security Council for the 8th time. And India got 184 votes out of 193 countries. And India is one of those countries which are strongly demanding reforms in the Security Council. We call ourselves G4 countries. Brazil, Germany, India and Japan. These 4 countries are supporting each other for Security Council permanent membership seats. Right? As I said, India's term of Security Council had begun on 1st January 2021. India, along with Ireland, Mexico, and Norway, were also elected to the Security Council. As I said, recently, on a rotational basis, India had headed this United Nations General Security Council meeting, wherein our Prime Minister addressed this meeting, online. Our Prime Minister has addressed this meeting. Normally, you don't find the heads of the countries addressing those meetings, but our Prime Minister felt that he has to address the meeting because he wanted to convey important messages to the rest of the countries as part of the fight against Corona. Right? So this is what it is. I think we have completed our time. Right? The time is over, and we can stop it here for today. And tomorrow we will continue with them. If you have any doubts, you can ask. If you have any doubts, you can ask. Otherwise, we will continue with this tomorrow. You can take 1 minute to ask your doubts. If you have any doubts, there is a time lag, I think, of 1 minute. Right? So, as I said, we are meeting at again 11:30. We will continue with our special classes of economic survey. Right? Till then, take care of yourself. We'll see you at 11:30. Okay, very good. That's nice. Okay. So we will meet again. Yeah, definitely I'll share this document.